Okay. Still have about an hour and a half. So let's try to explore as much as we can. Good, we didn't get ambushed or anything. Could chart a few paths. Again, I think my goal is somewhere around here before I can indulge in combat, ship combat and stuff like that. So, however, this solar system also has the first dynasty that I could work on with projects and whatnot. So, oh no, there are ships to fight here. I want to avoid that, so... Because even on Dare and difficulties, the early ship fights were a pain in the ass. The ship is not that equipped to handle anything. Okay, that is a 7. We could extract that. Finish one of the contracts. Good. Need Promethium and Xenotech next. Okay, I think the dynasty is this one, but the question is it locked behind this combat thing, or... Yeah. Actually, let's try from this angle. Thank God. Okay. Alright. Monastery of the Order of the Hammer. Lord Captain, we have received a transmission from Foulstone. It was sent by members of the Order of the Hammer. Votaries of Saint Cognatius, whose monastery is the only settlement on the planet. Or rather, it used to be. Some time ago, a transport vessel, the Navica, unloaded several thousand refugees from a planet belonging to rogue trader Winterscale. The Order of the Hammer has judged this invasion to be an act of aggression and is asking for your lordship's protection. We will not abandon people of faith in distress. Prepare a landing party in my shuttle. I'm taking the monastery under my protection. Or, those people are victims, not invaders. Prepare my shuttle. I'll head the planet and resolve this conflict. So this is a more diplomatic approach, and this is more assertive and aggressive. We'll go with this for now. As it pleases your lordship. Oh God. 611 days after the feast of the passing of Nicomdes Keefe, the champion of faith, disquietude, what the fuck is that? Marred the calm of the monastery of the Order of the Hammer. Countless tortured souls, steeped in fear, arrived on Foulstone in a star bark. A great apostasy had befallen their home, turned them into object wanderers seeking help and refuge. Their wicked and cruel captain, the owner of the Navica, had betrayed them. Once the unknown souls in his care had made landfall on the world's surface. He most deviously recalled his shuttles and left, thus ridding himself of his duty of care to the unfortunate lot. Not knowing how they would survive in Foulstone's grim wastelands, the Forsaken people came to the monastery of Saint Cognatius, and there they surrounded its walls. They hammered their fists on its gate and implored, they wailed, "Take us in, protect us." And what once was a place of serenity and grace was now dull of din, disorder, and all manner of things despicable. The interlopers brought with them worldly futility and strife, and mayhap also the seeds of alluring blasphemies. If friendly heathens lurked in the midst, after a prayer the prelate Hectaricus turned his eye to the past in search of instruction. Prelate Hectaricus, whatever the fuck, recalled the first missionaries to set foot on Foulstone, vast wasteland, led by their zeal for serving Saint Cognatus, and those missionaries had received the blessing of Nicomedes Keefe, the champion of faith who had traveled with them in their star bark to found in this place a humble and pure abode, wherein to cultivate wisdom and piety. Saint Cognatius, every time I pronounce his name, I say it differently. I swear to God, this is a man of great endeavors, a warrior, and a wise artificer. Never cowered behind the walls of a librarium, but stepped bravely into the darkness, carrying light in the palm of his hand, and he commanded others to do the same. And not only Foulstone, but many other worlds of the Coronis expanse bear its imprint. And Prelate Hectaricius did welcome the interlopers warmly as his guests, but he did warn his brethren to keep their vigilance. The brethren and sisters of the Order of the Hammer came forth to meet the strangers, carrying water and protein victuals, and medicinal herbs and jugs of promethium. But the crowd came to blows over viands, and blood was spilt. And many were trampled or mauled in the stampede, some of them dwellers of the monastery. Then the warriors of the Order of the Hammer donned their flak cowls, inscribed words of praise to the God Emperor on their tactical visors, and went forth, ready to render service in battle. With lasguns and bolters, they pierced the interlopers. With their chainswords and power flails, they struck them. And a great and bloody harvest was reaped that day. But the interlopers too, scant though their armaments was, and scantler their skill in battle, slew many among the monastery's dwellers. For great were their numbers and greater their desperation. The monks fled beyond their walls and rang the vox alarm and shut the gate, and commanded the armed guards to keep watch over that gate, slaying any who approached. Now, I butchered reading the past few pages, but basically, to put the story into perspective, there's a bunch of refugees that were dumped on this planet. They saw a monastery. They knocked on the door. When the monastery people opened the door, the refugees were not very civil, and a lot of damage happened for both factions so far, and it's just a giant big misunderstanding, it seems like. So, yeah. A quarrel broke out. The hungry and the sick lay siege to the monastery, begging for help in their spite. They blocked the water collector and empowered the generatorium. The faithful in the meantime made ready to resist, and a miracle came to pass. The God Emperor sent his champion, his confidant, his right hand, the rogue traitor of the blessed house, von Vilencius. May the light of his grace remain upon it. What the fuck? Okay. The blessed rogue traitor. We have a few options here. We want all the dogma choices for more points. Commanded his formidable boarding force to fall upon the interlopers and slay as many as could be slain. I would have tried to resolve it more peacefully, but I guess dogma does not allow it. They, after all, invaded a monastery, so we got 4 points out of this. And there was a great battle, and the accursed miscreants lost their lives in great numbers. The rest fled swiftly to the wastelands, there to hide in fear. And Prelate Ricius sent a vox transmission to the rogue trader, beseeching, "Destroy us not, but extend a hand of protection over us, for these wicked people will return to exact their vengeance." The most exalted rogue trader gazed over Foulstone's expanses and quoth, "Now it's mine." His gaze darkened. "This world could be mine, but it's not to be. Fare ye well, for I depart." Okay. Now let's take it. And the faithful rejoiced, for henceforth they would have an unwavering and mighty guardian, and they proclaimed it for all to hear. Singing hymns of glory, they unsealed the airlocks and opened the abode's gates, for a great endeavor in the glorious name of the rogue trader awaited them. Foulstone was to be led to prosperity and faith, to triumph. After a prayer, the architects set to work in accordance with the saint's teachings and the parameters set forth in the standard template construct. They erect a spacious living quarters and study fort walls for the planetary militia, and a spacious auditorium wherein the trade and store goods, and a proud censorum. Within those walls, clerics and servo bondsmen would maintain order and keep statistical records. And a new yet righteous way of life came to Foulstone, and the people rejoiced, and all was good. The end. Alright, so, our first project. The thing is, when you pick one, you lock the others. I'd like a complete list so I know what blocks what, but this gives me rep with these people, and this, however, gives me a permanent passive against chaos enemies. 30% to the pro shield sector. This is for the ship battle stuff. It's a passive for my ship, and this is a passive for my party. Obviously, I'd rather have the party buff. Hold on. Alright, sorry about that. So... yeah, I think I'm going with this one. I mean, there is a description if you truly care about role-playing and that kind of stuff, but how I'm going to approach unfair difficulty is by min-maxing the passives I want and trying to get the highest project, which comes much later, like chapter 4, I believe. So we'll do this. Okay, so with that, we could take a look. Fellowship of the Void. Wow, this is actually really good for my main character. But we need to get to gather some resources. Blocks. Let's read what blocks what. This blocks Cemetery of the Faithful. So I have to choose this, or the foul stone of the crewman laid to rest, blah blah blah. The flagship gains 5% bonus to evasion. And we get rep with the Darusians. All allies increase their wounds by Lore Imperium. Wow. And we get Dogmatic points. But why can't we do this yet? It's because we're working on the project already. There's some time that you have to wait on for it to be accessible. So I'm going to do this next. It doesn't block anything either. Epiphany. If the wielder kills an enemy with a charge, this ability has no cooldown. The charge has no cooldown, or what ability? As far as I know, there is no cooldown on charge. Or do you mean I could charge multiple times during the same round? I don't have enough action economy to make use of this. This blocks Good Tidings, which is this one. And this is like the rarest thing in the game, pretty much. All allies, 3 multiplied by Dogmatic rank, which could go up to 5 maximum. Currently I'm 2 or 3. So 3 multiplied by 3. Critical chance. Oh, against demons and Xenos? I mean, let's crusade. The Rogue Trader gains 10 plus bonus to all characteristics during warp encounter battles. That's the ambushes when you're traveling between locations. So it's a nice bonus, but it's very situational. I'm not going to have it all the time. The Rogue Trader and their allies gain 20% damage against demons, and the Rogue Trader and their allies gain more damage against demons? Like, how does that work? 40% total? That doesn't make sense. But in order to unlock this, I need to choose between these, basically. So if I go with Good Tidings, I can't access it. If I go with Righteous Fire and get the sword, I can access it. What's Shrine? All damage dealt with when this weapon pushes an enemy is increased by 100%. Takes 4 phlogiston. So I guess I'll grab this one. Even though I don't really have a melee that is built to just charge only. But we could respec any time and kind of change if when needed, you know? However, this requires a lot of stuff, so it's probably going to be much later when I get to do this. Now this kind of finishes everything here. The ships I'll ambush or fight later once I get access to a ship that will fight with me, so it can act as a distraction, you know? Again, I believe my target is... This is Janus. We could do the quest here also, but... I would like to start with Draconis, or whatever it's called. Let's explore a bit more. Permission to report, Lord Captain. I keep receiving messages about strange behaviors in certain ship systems. All decks report the uncontrollable opening and closing of doors, gates, and airlocks. They behave erratically and do not obey the operator's commands. Regrettably, this has led to casualties among the ship. The tech priests have explained that these phenomena are being caused by the machine spirits. Irascibility, and have spent hours chanting litanies to soothe their anger. However, or unfortunately, many crew members were badly injured before the Pyros could stabilize the system. Okay, I guess it's just a flavor thing. I thought it was going to lead to an ambush or something. So we're safe for now. And we could visit the solar system. No void ship combat. So we could explore in peace, quote unquote. Okay, we do have an event here. We'll come back to it. Another one? Plasteel, we could skip on that. Let us quick save and see what this event is all about. The ruins of an ancient imperial city were discovered on a dead world, completely deprived of an ecosystem. According to the reports, the entire settlement is contained in a titanic glass dome that once held an artificial atmosphere. Your ogres detected the framework of 3 or other similar structures that were never completed. For whatever reason, the dome's systems failed, and left behind is this city, a ghost that never managed to become a proper colony of the Imperium. Send out a crew to explore the city's temple districts. Order the scouts to gather as many supplies. Drain the remaining fuel of the generators. Okay, can I do all of these? Let's send in a crew first. Holy gifts, okay. And what? A gun? Single attacks with the bolter weapon automatically hit the target. This would be good for Argenta if she was built around bolter guns, but I don't have one that's set up that way at the moment. Order the scouts to gather as much supplies. Provisions. Mechanicus. Okay, good. Drain the remaining fuel. Explore the local palace. Ghost sword. Anything special about the sword? Okay. A lavishly decorated estate of the local ruler towers over rows of featureless bunkhouses. Several explorers perished from the cleverly hidden tripwires in the courtyard, but after losing their companions, the team easily disarmed the remaining traps in the estate. Anything of value had been promptly delivered to the rogue trader's vessel. The Lord Captain was given an exquisite sword found in a secret cache that once belonged to the mansion's owner. And that is everything here. Let us compare the swords. Where is it? It's not in my inventory? Ah, shit, I forgot to even do this. Okay. It's locked behind Eldari weapon proficiency. It's a talent that I have to invest in. Alright. My current sword is kind of better anyway. I know it says less damage, right? But the thing about the sword is it scales with willpower. So it deals additional damage with willpower. Something I am investing in quite heavily, so 5.5 multiplied by 2, that's 10 more damage. So essentially this is doing 22. And this is 18, you know? I'm not super confident on this math, but I think that's how it works. I know it says here 55 and whatever, but these are increments of points. So every 10 points is essentially 1, if you want to do the math when it comes to talents and items and whatnot. So right now it's 55, is basically 5.5, if that makes sense. Again, not super confident with this math, but based on my experience with like D&D games and whatever, this is how the math should be. Alright, so the magnetic storm raging above the planet blurs the gaze of ogre arrays. Only truly powerful diviner machines may see through the currents of magnetic fluctuations in their blessed vigil and discover the mysteries of this emperor-forsaken planet. The rogue trader has decided to leave this unwelcome world. Maybe he will return here one day. Okay, so it's one of those planets locked behind specific ship upgrades. Cannot pierce through the magnetic storm raging above the planet. Only truly powerful sacred technologies can gaze into the eye of the storm. I don't remember when you get this upgrade specifically, but we'll see. I already got a cigarette out on the ashtray. Okay, quick save in case we get a really bad ambush situation. Lord Captain, I hasten to report the disturbing news brought to me by machine spirits of the ship. The matter is extremely delicate and concerns Lady Cassia. You see, since her first day aboard, her presence has been a disturbance to the crew's ways of life. If you'll allow me, I have prepared a detailed report. Okay. The first incident occurred immediately after our departure from Uruk 5. The Lady Navigator chastised one of the ship's runners, after which he went to his living quarters, killed his family, and then shot himself. What the fuck? The second incident was noted when, while traversing the warp, the Lady Navigator gave the pilots the wrong instructions and the void ship was thrown off course. For a matter of minutes, but this was enough for the forces of the Metrium to anger the machine spirits, enough for them start a fire in the service bay. After that, officers living near the Lady Navigator's quarters began to express extreme emotions: hysteria, apathy, euphoria, rage. This is quite detrimental to crew morale and performance. The last incident was recorded on Footfall. Around 100 living birds were delivered on board. During our stay on Footfall, each bird cost a hefty sum, but I have failed to discover their purpose and subsequent fate. I was told about a conflict between the Lady Navigator and Siniscall. Alas, with no details. If you like, you can ask Master Wersarian directly. Things are even worse with J. Hidaria. I intercepted a Vox machine. Okay, let me take this phone call. Alright. If I may, Lord Captain, the navigator's state of mind worries me. She is self-contained and does not mesh with the crew at all, which is why everyone avoids her. Even senior officers can be superstitious. I fear that only you are in a position to talk to her on an equal footing and improve the situation, for the sake of the crew's safety and that of Lady Cassia herself. Okay. So, let's chart the system first. Get on the ship and start Cassia's companion quest, I guess you could say. Also, if you're interested, I guess you could do start a romance with her doing this quest. I don't really have one in mind, even though I'd like the achievement. On my first playthrough I kind of fucked it up, but I'm not really interested in Cassia specifically, even though she would be fitting for a Dogmatic playthrough, I think, because you don't really have any other options.
Lord Captain?
I hear you and Cassia exchange words. Recently, what happened?
And who brought this piece of news to you, I wonder? Then again, I have nothing to hide from you. Of late, the helmsmen have been going off course with increasing frequency, and the reports are full of contradicting accounts. The problem continued, even after several demotions were handed out, so I took it upon myself to investigate.
Okay.
I was astonished to learn that our Lady Navigator has been amending entries in the ship's log, and the officers have been keeping silent on her orders. I immediately demanded an end to the outrageous conduct, and I reprimanded Lady Cassia in front of the officers. She greeted my words with silence, and then quickly departed. I should not have acted thus. I never even found out what drove her to do it.
Okay.
Lord Captain.
Now we can approach her. Through these quests, essentially, you can alter the character's behavior. You can track all of this in this page. This is basically where you track like your morality and stuff, and you can unlock passives. And again, through certain quests like this that we're about to do, you can make them more obedient or submissive and all sorts of stuff, right? In this specific case, I don't know what it does, to be honest. But we'll see.
Words cannot describe how boring the bridge is without our stimulating conversations.
I believe this is our first ever, but sure. I've heard rumors that you are not getting along well with the crew. Panic flashes in her ruby red eyes, and your heart starts beating a little faster, while your hands go cold.
Not here. I'm begging you. Aren't noblemen supposed to discuss such things away from the servants?
Sure, let's go to my study.
Then lead the way, and I will answer all of your questions.
She sounds cute, but the pictures and the way she looks is not very encouraging, right? Let's be honest. What is it you wanted to talk about, Lord Captain? I have nothing to say to you, to your unfounded accusations about my conflicts with the crew. I cannot recall my having a single quarrel with any of your people during my entire time aboard. You have been willfully changing entries in the ship's logbook and forbidding officers from reporting it to Abelard. I beg to differ. I read numerous books on Astra Nataris and can swear on House Arcelia's honor that your officers are entering data in complete contravention of regulation. False terms, random distances between lines, spelling mistakes, and even the simplest of words. I have spent the last few cycles correcting the latest log entries, and I thought it would please Master Abelard, as he is so fond of order. Okay, she has an OCD problem. And yet the Seneschal did not appreciate my efforts, and for some reason called them an outrage, even though mere days before he had been swaddling me in warm yellow words. I notice all your people do this when they are expressing sympathy. I merely wanted to repay the Seneschal with the same courtesy. Perhaps he finds my friendliness off-putting. The messenger you rebuked butchered his own family and then killed himself. I haven't rebuked a single errand boy on this ship. Ah, I think I remember. A kind young man with a shy smile and skillful fingers, with too much rotten ochre on his shoulders. I grew tired of the disgusting color and advised him to lighten his burden by casting the weight off his shoulders. He did not come the next day, or ever again. Yeah, I just told you why. During the warp voyage, you gave the wrong orders, which led to the vessel shifting off course and the service bay being destroyed. I saw something in the warp, something vast, predatory, shimmering with indescribable colors. It came from nowhere and started at the ship with hundreds of hungry eyes. Right there in our path, I decided to change the course while it was still possible, but did not want to sow panic. Would it have been better to tell the crew we were heading straight into a monster's gaping maw? I'm not really answering these questions she's throwing at me, but I'm just asking more questions. The officers are reluctant to be quartered next to your chambers because of the constant emotional outbursts it causes them. Some even maim themselves and others. I already told you I cannot control my abilities. What else do you want from me? Will I be assigned a pariah chaperone, or will you put me in suppressing shackles? Would you mind telling me why you needed 100 species of bird and what you used them for? Admittedly, I am at a loss myself. The day we arrived on Footfall, I sent a request to the ship's quartermaster and asked him to get me the songbird, but he never asked for clarification. And shortly before we left, I had a countless number of cages delivered to me, all wrapped in bright red panic, with flickering tints of fear. There was a bird in everyone. I was so excited. I thought I would have 100 friends instead of just one. They were squeaking so piteously, I let the poor things out. I even fed them my breakfast and dinner. But the stupid birds would not stop chittering, even after bedtime. Well, yeah. They were dashing about the room, smacking me in the face with their wings, and defecating. I became angry, and suddenly they started pecking at each other's eyes and attacking me. Then I became afraid, and they fell over dead. I do not think I want to keep pets anymore. Jesus. I think I've heard enough. Will you share your thoughts with me? My crew has good reason to fear you. You truly are a monster. You have a kind soul, but I had difficulty reaching out to people. I could teach you the art of communication if you like. You have done terrible things. Woes dog your steps. Everyone who has dared to slander you will be punished. Okay. Now, we could be more of a mentor. Yeah? That would be wonderful. My education in Uric 5 was cut short, but I had realized by then that the wisdom of books is a poor substitute for the wisdom of experience. Very well, since we are done with this misunderstanding, I would like to change the subject. Would it only be fair for me to ask you a few questions now, wouldn't it? Do not mistake me. I am not going to accuse you of anything. It's just that you are the most worthy interlocutor on the entire ship. And you are always so busy. Okay. I read a treaty by Pysius D. Mobius very recently, who claimed that subjects would never believe their new ruler was better than the old one, unless the old one had been a tyrant. No matter the circumstances, the low-born rabble become deluded about their prospects and rebel in favor of those base desires. What do you make of that? Your interpretation of this classical text is not entirely correct. If the subjects have grown accustomed to the ruling house, all the sovereign must do is refrain from breaching long-standing traditions. Adjust unwanted laws as gradually as you would shift the bed of a flooded river, and no one will ever take your power from you. Okay, let's go with that. Indeed, I was not wrong about your merits or your ability to hold a conversation. I hope my second question does not confound you either. According to the 20 tomes penned on the preacher, Oistak Estefan, fancy name, the Forgotten, mercy and cruelty go through the world hand in hand, but people flock only to the one pan of these scales. Would you rather inspire fear in your followers or be magnanimous and choose awe? One must be a tyrant, a friend, and a jester to one's subjects. What matters is that to clearly discern which role is required at a given moment. That is the most logical thing to say. I will exercise restraint and leniency in my actions. Excessive suspicion and mistrust. Nah, fuck them. I am not afraid of acquiring a reputation of ruthlessness. Okay, let's go with that. My chances are 50%. Well, they all kind of suck, so. There is so much power in your words, power that makes me want to join you. I understand now why your subjects are eager to follow you. I admit was afraid we were too different, and yet you helped me realize that I can't be candid with you. Please continue. I must confess that sometimes I can hardly bear the burden of the house has placed upon me. I feel I am not doing my best. Tell me, heir to a protectorate can bear the responsibility for millions of lives day after day and not stoop under all the weight. It is not always easy, but I try to lead the dynasty toward prosperity by worthy means. Thank you for your patience, Magnus. You are helping me to see the world in different colors. A novel experience for me. Our conversations hold a special place in my heart. Allow me to bid you farewell for now. I am heading back to my chambers to consider today's conversation. Okay. That takes care of that. We got a level out of it. Fantastic.